hand design type of timber framers, the industry is sort of turning towards this prefabrication in a shop. Everything done in a shop. Everything done quickly and to precise measurements. This takes timber framing out of what I always thought, and I'm sure many of you think, is an extremely expensive niche, something they only do in the mountains kind of product, and makes this affordable and accessible to everyone in the country. It's something that I feel very proud of, to push towards making timber framing affordable for individuals who are middle income. Maybe they teach, maybe they are a professor, or maybe they have worked as a nurse their whole life. That doesn't mean they don't deserve a beautiful house and something that they can be proud of and sustainable. So as this mechanization process has happened, it's allowed timber framing to kind of come into that world and to create houses that are affordable to a middle class person. They then are houses that can be passed down with pride through your family or sold for a higher value than the houses that fall apart. So this to me is the heart of timber framing, and truly why I love the industry and why I love the business I'm in, because I really see a potential. On the sustainability side and the energy efficiency side, you may look at the handout that was passed around and saw a frame. Rather than lots of little sticks, we've got 16 feet apart, big timbers. So how do you shell that in? Generally we use SIP panels. And those structurally insulated panels, which is OSB, styrofoam and OSB, nothing more, glued together, go up perfectly on these giant spaces, and you just sandwich one another to make essentially a beer cooler around this beautiful timber frame. But the nice thing is there's no breaks in the insulation, so you've got a great art value. You've got no place for the warm air or cold air to escape, since you don't have any of those 2x4s. So you're getting an incredible level of energy efficiency specifically out of this incredibly well-built house. So you have the SIPs, you have the frame, and you've got essentially an ice cooler that's going to last forever. You know, so it's incredibly energy efficient that way, and then the sustainability of the frame itself is unparalleled. The structure is so strong. The timbers support themselves. Everything is so perfectly aligned through how we've learned the process for hundreds and thousands of years that we've got really a beautiful structure. So another thing to think about is the open casing. How was it that you put it? You had a real good word for it. How the frame itself.
Oh, it's open built.
Open built.
Yeah.
So you've got these SIP panels, and SIP panels won't last as long as the timbers, and the windows won't last as long as the timbers, and the water heater won't last as long. So how do you rehabilitate the house as it falls apart? Well, a timber frame is perfect for that, because you just take the SIP panel right off and replace it with something else. Perhaps in the future we'll have something more efficient, cheaper, better, who knows? But those things can be easily replaced. The walls themselves are not supporting the roof. It's the posts that are supporting the roof. So the only thing that you can't touch are these giant posts. But in between that, you can put doors, windows, you can replace the insulation as it fades and rots. You can get to the mechanicals with no problem, because they're not hidden behind any walls. There's nothing you have to tear apart to get to. They're encased in rooms that are meant to be rehabilitatable, replaceable. So the frame itself, the house itself, can exist and even change over time. You can change the arrangement of the walls, you can add to it, you can reduce it, but the main thing is it's there for future generations to use and to change and play with as technology changes. So essentially those are the main points and the things that when I talk to a customer, when I'm sitting down with someone, I really like to touch on, is that you're not building a home with a timber frame for just yourself. You can imagine you're building it for your children. Or if you want to sell it to someone, it's going to have very good value for you, and then they're going to have something that they can pass on. You're building a home for generations, and not just, you know, something real big and nice for yourself for right now. You know, and it's something that's built responsibly because you've got energy efficiency, you've got sustainability in the strength of the structures, and I feel like there's a place in the future, a greater role than even now for timber frame homes than ever before. So it's an exciting industry to be in. But I'll pass it on to Sonia, and she'll tell you about St. Creek Ponds.
I'm just curious, like, could you let me know kind of what area a lot of you are in? I know that there are a lot of architects and a lot of people with green companies themselves, but could you guys just kind of give me a feel for architects? Yeah. Okay.
Homeowner.
Builder?
Enthusiast.
Enthusiast. Yeah. A lot of. Well, I was just curious, because I sure have a lot of respect for what you all do in creating environments. And, one thing that was, as Jack mentioned, I handle sales in Texas and for the dealer here in Texas. And I was fortunate to meet Lynn and Jewel, his father and stepmom, a couple of years ago. And got to hear all the stories about how the company started and about taking wood Christmas Eve to Iowa when the customer was short a little bit. And they really do have that desire to help recreate the countryside, you know, as was done at the turn of the century, and create really functional buildings. I think one thing that might help you all a lot is just to know a little bit about the Sand Creek Post and Beam barn kits. They are full-dimensional ponderosa pine, and the pine comes from the Black Hills of South Dakota, and then is sent to the plant, and everything is pre-engineered and pre-assembled, then disassembled and labeled and shipped out. And typically that process from order to delivery is about 3 months. And the wonderful thing about the barn kits is every kit is customized. So there is a lot of flexibility as far as what you can provide the client. For instance, a lot of our clients just want a garage for their Harley Davidsons, you know, on their property. Or some of the clients actually do have 10-stall horse barns, huge. And then a lot of the clients, which are probably clients that you're used to working with also right now, is the boomer from the large city that's buying the 5 to 10 acres and wanting a building initially just to live in while their house is being constructed and then serve as a guest house. And that is one thing we are going to focus on a little bit more, is some of the cabins we have had in the past kind of look like an Alabama sharecropper style. And as you know, small doesn't mean cheap. I mean, a lot of customers are feeling like less is more, and they're really wanting a great product that is small and just not as pretentious, perhaps, as what we wanted in the 80s. And it was very fascinating. On Saturday, I met with a couple from Japan, from Houston, and he's the CEO of a company there, and they're planning to buy some acreage in northern New Mexico and to spend summers there. And frankly, he could have anything he wanted there. And I asked him, you know, what is it that appeals to you about the barn home idea for your summer place? And he said, I want something that looks like it's been there for 100 years. And that is something that Lynn and Jewel have done a beautiful job of doing, and they understand the classic barn styles. You know, the ponderosa, the gambrels, the prairie carriage house from the Northeast. But they all have this flexibility that allows you to do pretty much anything with them inside and out. One thing I might explain to you too is what we found that's very successful in insulating the barns when they are barn homes, or like our barn office just north of Bergheim, which I'll pass along this brochure. You're welcome to come visit us anytime. But with the insulation, it is full dimensional pine lumber. Of course, the kit comes with that board and batten siding on the outside. And to insulate the barn, We just, after the framework is up, pine shiplap is put up, and then a layer of the 1-inch P2000. We've had a great deal of success with that P2000 foam. And then the board and batten siding is going up. So you've got a 3-layer system that provides a high degree of energy value. And so anyway, I'd like to just see if I'm answering the kinds of questions you guys might have. Do you have any? Yes?
Yeah, I want to ask you, and also on Texas Timber Frames, the sustainability aspect of the wood as far as, are you using FSC wood? Are your timber processes, are you harvesting as many, same number of board feet as grow? That's what.
Yes. The pine is dry cut. And of course, and it shouldn't have any more moisture than the lumber gets the lumber.